When I was growing up in suburban America, I used to miss Hong Kong a lot. Or to be more specific, I missed an idealized version of it crafted from old, hopeful memories. In my mind, since Hong Kong was everything the suburbs were not, it was better. It had skyscrapers instead of trees, it was noisy but exciting, and grimy but full of adventure. These are all sorts of imaginary burdens that we place on mere dirt, concrete, and glass. The reality is far more mundane. It's just a city with the same pros and cons as any other place in the world. Not much happens here. People eat, they shop, and they work. But that romanticism has proved a beautiful muse to some very talented photographers and videographers. Hollywood was an early mistress, and films like The World of Susie Wong and The Man of the Golden Gun showed Hong Kong in all its sensual mystery. And then of course in the 80s and 90s we had more gangster films by local Hong Kong studios, which had a more hard-boiled allure to the city. One could argue that romantic Hong Kong culminated in 2001 with Wong Kar Wai's In the Mood for Love. What a moment for film photography, and the aesthetic of letting go. Wing Shya was his chosen on-set photographer, and together they defined Hong Kong's dying days as a sensual land of mystery. And that neon aesthetic that lights up Instagram today, he had a lot to do with that as well. With those few short sentences, Wing Shya summed up the allure of Hong Kong. In his works, his elephant models contrast against light, color, and shadow. They are tender, they intrigue, and most of all they are filled with emotion, rather than technique. That's not to say that his work isn't highly technical, it's just that the feelings come first, rather than the show. So when Wing Shya first started working with Wong Kar Wai, he was so taken aback by the mood and sensuality and excitement in those scenes that he just kept shooting. He wasn't really focusing, he was kind of like, oh, just shooting. And then as a result, a lot of the pictures were pretty blurry and the director was pretty pissed. But in the end, he saw the mood and like the beauty in this movement and he relented. And Wing Shya was allowed to keep shooting and working with him on future films. At this point, it's kind of a little bit boring. Same old thing, F3, even I'm being a little bit bored. So maybe what I'll do is next series or so, I'll pull a new camera, try something new. But for today, we do have a new film, which I haven't used in our previous videos. It's called Fuji Natura 1600. I think it's somewhat on the way of being discontinued, which really sucks. I remember using it 10 years ago, roughly, in 2007. It was the cleanest, smoothest 1600 ISO speed film ever. And then the colors are great, kind of pastel, pretty cool. Pretty good for city lights, I guess. Alright. Okay. Wing Shya's thing opens up a whole can of worms, because I don't think he's 100% saying that you can, just forget all your technique and shoot whatever you want. But I think he's saying that there's a time and a place to make mistakes and to fail a little bit, and that, messing up a little bit can be okay if you still have the right intentions or the right feeling in mind. Film doesn't give you an excuse to just suddenly forget everything, but, it's a good medium to work with creative failures, I guess. It's not like he invented this concept, but it's always been curious to me how closely his philosophy has come to mirror Hong Kong's image of day and night, of perfection and imperfection, of political struggle on the inside and of financial stability on the outside. In his eyes, Hong Kong and art is full of mistakes. Perfection is boring. Which is ironic, because oftentimes his models and subjects are simply otherworldly, too beautiful for real life. His work to me is always important because even though it is idealized, it shows a part of the city that is fading or that has already faded. The romance, the mystery, the love, it disappears each year that we grow older and lose some of our curiosity, and also with each city block that sees both the curse and blessing of gentrification. And so it is with his work that can relate Hong Kong back to film photography, or maybe, on a larger, more pompous scale, life itself. After all, perhaps something so full of imperfections is meant to be captured with an imperfect medium. Hey guys, since it's the start of the new year, Anne and I would really like to thank you guys for your support in 2017. It's been a pretty incredible journey and we plan to bring in a lot more content this year. If you like what we make, please consider supporting us on Patreon and following us on Instagram. Until next time, keep shooting.